Welcome. Today's February 1st, 2021 St. Brigid's Day event is brought to you by the Ireland Canada Chambers and Centres for Commerce in Montreal, Toronto, Calgary and Ottawa. My name is Jackie Giln. I'm president at the Ireland Canada Chamber in Ottawa, and I'm joined by my colleague in Calgary, Lorraine Regan, by Kathy Murphy in Toronto, with Gabriel McCaffrey as technical manager and Amy Lynch, communications manager, who will be live tweeting today. You will meet our colleagues in the chamber in Vancouver at our next event. We have a full house with attendees from Ireland, Canada, the United States, and the United Kingdom. You're all very, very welcome, and a special shout out to our good friends at the Ireland Canada Business Association in Dublin. Now, in the spirit of the celebration of St. Brigid, we will showcase an Irish lady warrior entrepreneur whose tenacity, leadership, and innovation has placed her and her company firmly on the path to global success. It is none other than Leonora O'Brien. Leonora is a pharmacist and the founder and CEO of Pharmapod, a global company that has developed a pioneering software platform to reduce medication errors and deliver safe, effective clinical services for patients worldwide. Pharmapod has also recently developed an application for helping manage the rollout of the COVID vaccinations. Leonora has over 25 years' experience in pharmacy practice, policy development, and regulatory affairs. Her previous roles included that of chief pharmacist of the largest pharmacy group in Ireland and European manager for a corporate pharmacy group based in Germany. She is a strong supporter of women in STEM and has won numerous awards, including Businesswoman of the Year in Ireland 2020. I first met Leonora when she came to Ottawa 3 or 4 years ago to attend our Ireland Canada Trade Mission in cooperation with the Ireland Canada Business Association, Enterprise Ireland, and other stakeholders. She then headed off to the Chamber Centre for Commerce in Calgary to meet Lorraine. So I will now hand over to Lorraine, who will introduce Leonora. Lorraine, you have the floor.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for this St. Brigid's Day presentation. We are delighted to welcome you today, Leonora. Thank you so very much for joining us.
You're very welcome, Lorraine, and it's fantastic to be here on St. Brigid's Day. Thank you.
Let's just get right into the interview, shall we? Because we don't have a ton of time, and I want to make sure we get lots of great insights from your experience for our audience today. So why don't we start with you telling us a little bit about your professional background and how you started Pharmapod? How did it come about?
So, well, I'm a pharmacist by background, and I qualified about 25 years ago now. It's a long time ago in the UK, but through that journey, I've always had patient safety roles, and I worked for about 10 years in a patient-facing role, which was really important to what I do now. I've worked across 8 European countries for a corporate pharmacy group as well, and I was based in Germany for some years in that role. And through that role, I just realized the beauty and the scalability of technology, I guess, because what we were doing is sharing pockets of knowledge from one country to another, and where there was pockets of excellence in one country, we would help to accelerate the learnings across others. So I really and that was about 15 years ago now. So I really fell in love with technology for how it could accelerate learnings from country to country. So I guess that was an important learning for me on my professional career. But also I was the chief pharmacist for Unicare pharmacy in Ireland, which was the largest pharmacy group. And that was in law, I was responsible for any patient safety issues or the safety of all the patients. And if we were sued, I would have been up in a court of law and had to, justify our safety procedures, etc. So that was a superintendent role, and it was the first time that role was in the legislation. So it was critical that I took charge of the quality and all their safety procedures across the organization. And I just, in that role, I realized how many issues would happen on a day-to-day basis within the pharmacy. and similar issues that were happening across the country in the group. And, you know, the group was not unique to that. It happens in every single pharmacy group. There are always issues. These are high volume dispensing areas. It's a high risk environment to be operating in when you've, you know, medication dispensed in those volumes every day. So that was a huge learning for me. And if somebody had given us the Pharmapod solution at that point, I would have taken their arm off it, because what was happening was I was responsible for analysing all the risks to patients, but people were faxing up things that had gone wrong to me. There was no analysis tool. I was having to populate all that data into an Excel sheet and to try and get the insights that I needed in order to keep the patient safe. So that was a huge learning as well. And then another role that really influenced me was the regulator. I worked for the regulator in Ireland, the pharmacy regulator. And that was a fantastic experience. So the regulations were increasing all the time. And I realized that pharmacists had to record and review and analyze all the issues that were happening to their patients, but there was no system to enable them to do that. So really, I felt it was incumbent upon me as a pharmacist to try and do something about it. And as well as that, you're looking at a good 95% plus of these issues are preventable. So when you know that you can make a difference, you really do have to try and make a difference. So that's why I embarked on the journey into Pharmapod.
So tell me though about those issues that you were looking to solve. Why is it so important?
I suppose so. Anything can happen across that patient journey, be it a breakdown in communication in the multidisciplinary team, you know, with doctors' handwriting, for example, or lack of access to appropriate records. Systems operating in silos is a big one. So if you're in primary care in a GP's or a pharmacy, they may not know exactly what has been prescribed in a hospital, etc. So there can be duplicate records, but there's an infinite number of issues that can go wrong across that patient journey. And I guess to really bring it back to a human level. So an example in Canada would be, so I've got to know a fantastic lady in Canada, Melissa Sheldrick, and she's just an inspiration to me. So Melissa lost her 8-year-old son to a medication error, and Andrew was on tryptophan for a sleep disorder, and Melissa, you know, would give that to him every night, and it's quite innocuous, so not many side effects at all, and it's very safe. But then one day, Melissa picked up her prescription for Andrew and went through the normal procedure at nighttime, gave Andrew his dose, and then Andrew passed away in the night. You know, a healthy young boy. So the family was just, it was such a tragedy. It doesn't bear thinking about. 6 months later, they got the toxicology report back, and it was found that there was a picking error within the pharmacy where you know, Andrew had 3 times the toxic dose of baclofen, which is for multiple sclerosis, in his system. So it was a simple picking error by a pharmacy technician that just changed the course of that family's life. And Melissa then single-handedly went back to the pharmacy to say, has this been reported? And she was just shocked, because she learned that there was no obligation on the part of the pharmacist to actually share that with their community, and so people could learn from it, and their colleagues could learn from that issue. And so she went about on a crusade across the different provinces in Canada to try and lobby for that. And so that's what we do. That's what Pharmapod does. We try and help pharmacies to record, review, and analyze all the issues that happen within their pharmacy. And then at the click of a button, they can see what the high risk medicines are, what the contributory factors are, any further training that staff need to do. You can spot trends over time. So really, it's all about quality improvement. And it's back to that adage, you know, if you can't measure something, you can't improve it. And so that's what we do. Our system is a quality improvement solution. But it's also great for regulators or stakeholders on a national level, because at the click of a button, they can see exactly what the issues are happening on a national scale or a provincial scale or a state scale, depending on the country. And with that data and those insights, you can actually come up with guidance for the profession. You can come up with further supports to train people and to help to prevent those issues happening in the first place. So that's essentially what Pharmapod is all about. It's preventing patient harm from happening on an international basis.
Significant impact with respect to protecting all those patients as they interact with, the healthcare providers. So what a wonderful solution. And you are Irish, you're based in Ireland, but you're operating in many other places. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that and who your customers are?
So we've always had a global vision from the word go. We've always had that. I maybe because when I worked in Europe, I very quickly got used to going from country to country and realized that no country was immune for this issue. And that even though we have different cultures in the different countries, that a pharmacist is a pharmacist is a pharmacist. Everyone is the same. Everyone is really dedicated to keeping their patients safe. And there was no solution that I came across in any country that was fit for purpose. So we have customers primarily in the English-speaking markets, although in Canada, for example, we've translated the system into French for Quebec, and it is localizable into as many different languages. We've built it with that in mind. But we have concentrated so far in Canada. We're in 60% of the pharmacies in Canada are utilizing our solution. UK is a key market for us. Ireland, where the company originated. Australia as well. We launched there during the pandemic. And also we have launched in the US. So we're a federally listed patient safety organization in the US. And that's an important thing to be there, because unless you're a patient safety organization, and the data that the healthcare professional puts into your system can be disclosed if there's a litigation case. So we help prevent that data from being disclosed, because healthcare professionals have to feel that this is a safe, psychologically safe environment for them to be. They need to disclose issues that they've been involved in, but feel comfortable coming forward, that it's not a punitive culture that you're helping to create. You're using these issues as an opportunity to learn, and so that's very much what we facilitate. And we do culture training as well, because patient safety culture is and culture of transparency and support is key to it all. So our customers are in those countries, and we have a partnership with the International Pharmacy Federation, which represents 4 million pharmacists internationally, which is an amazing partnership. They're such an excellent team, because there aren't that many organizations with a global remit like ourselves. So that's extremely exciting. Our customers are regulators. They're the larger international corporate pharmacy groups, but we also have the long-term care sector. We have a product for them as well. And we help to with the communication across the healthcare sector, because it's a system-wide approach. It's a system-wide issue, so it needs a system-wide solution. We also have some hospitals using the solution. So and the likes of Remedies RX in Canada was our first client. We did some great PR with the team there, and they're a brilliant organization. So specialist pharmacy and for the elderly and vulnerable. And, we really have a great partnership there. And the likes of Shoppers Drug Mart in Canada, for example, is the largest pharmacy group. So pan-Canadian. So we're in all of the provinces with different corporate groups. And yeah, so it's a very exciting time.
You are certainly in a lot of different markets. So how many staff do you have?
We have 31.
31. And where are they located?
So they are primarily in Canada, UK, Ireland, and now in the US as well. So
congratulations on that too. So what made you, it was what you came to Canada in 2018, was it? 2018?
It was 2018.
Yeah.
I think we landed there.
Okay. Why did you choose Canada?
You know, for very different, well, Canada was always in our business plan from the first business plan that I wrote, you know, eight years ago. Canada was one of the first markets. And I guess the reason for that is in healthcare, there's a real consonance with the English speaking markets, you know, Commonwealth countries, not that Ireland is in that because it came out of the Commonwealth in 1949, but in terms of regulation, they do things in a quite a similar way. And having worked in regulation myself, I understand why that is, because if you're trying to establish an evidence base, or you're looking at a new legislation to come into play, it's much easier to just learn from the documents that you can absorb in your own language. So and as a result, there's a very tight-knit community across the pharmacy sector in those countries. And there's a forum such as, it's called Pharm Intercom, and all the decision makers, there's 7 English-speaking countries that come together on an annual basis and share best practice, and they share the challenges. But yeah, and they very much, you know, if something is really working in one country, then they'll share it with another. So there's a lot of acceleration of learnings across that. So that's why Canada was important for us. But it's very easy to get to. And you know, culturally we're very aligned. I moved to Canada. I guess that's important to note as well. Starting the business there, I moved to Canada and I was there for over a year, and I felt that was such a, you know, fantastic, because I'd lived in Germany for years, and although obviously I'm European, I felt very culturally at home in Canada. And the language really helped with my family to assimilate as well. So it was very easy, and very easy to get, you know, communicate with the team in Ireland as well. So I felt that it was a very easy transition really. And I felt, you know, the Canadian clients that we had were so progressive and nice to do business with, just easy to do business with. And so it's been a fantastic experience really. But also, why Canada, the government agency was so important. So we're a high potential startup from Enterprise Ireland, which is the government agency in Ireland. And at the time Brexit was happening, and there was in the news every day. And so Enterprise Ireland was trying to reduce its dependency in terms of exports and imports on the UK market. And so that really worked in our favor. They were putting a lot of energy and resource into helping people and giving grants and everything to open new markets and to, you know, tweak their product to localize for new markets. So that played into our strategy, because we never saw ourselves as just being for, you know, one small market. We had a global vision in mind. So that was great. You know, the political environment at the time really helped us. So we embarked on what was called a Pathfinder program into Canada, and that was through Enterprise Ireland, and we got connected with a lot of different stakeholders as part of that. And we ended up having a partnership with the Canadian Pharmacist Association, which gave us a huge amount of credibility, and that, I think that was important in our launch into Canada, because we weren't an Indigenous company at the time. Obviously, we've incorporated now in Canada, in BC, and we have Canadian employees, and that's really important, that you have boots on the ground, and that you're you know, investing in the people, and you're there for the long haul. But that really was the start of it for us. And then there's the CETA agreement as well, that really, you know, there was no tariffs then for trade between Europe and Canada. So all of those things came together to create the right environment for us.
So if you were talking to a company that was looking to expand into a new market, you know, what would be some key things that you would say they should do immediately? Like you've touched on some of them there, but, you know, government agencies, networking, what do you think set you up for such success?
I would say try and look at partnerships within the country, because so for example, the first tender that we went for in Canada, it was for a regulator, and there were 7 proponents we were up against, and we were the only non-Canadian company. So that came with a risk, and we knew it was a risk. So just gut instinct really was, we need to have a partner in Canada that is well regarded, credible, and a leading voice for pharmacy. And so the Canadian Pharmacists Association are the leading voice for pharmacy in Canada. That's their tagline. So that was perfect for us, and they've been an amazing partner. So that was important. And I think networking as well. I mean, we contacted everybody. We really did. People like yourself, Laureen, I remember meeting you in Calgary for lunch. You just have to network. You never know where those connections will lead you. We reached out to the Canadian ambassador to Ireland and the Irish ambassador to Canada. We went to meet people, and through the Pathfinder program, we were networking all the time as well, with potential investors in Canada. And the Canadian Pharmacists Association ended up investing 3 million in the company, 3 million Canadian dollars. So that was very important. So I would say to network is hugely important. Utilize any government grants that are available, because there are many available to facilitate trade between Canada and Ireland, which is fantastic. And yeah, I think just to enjoy your, I mean, it's so easy now just to, you don't have to even do the travel, but reaching out to people and connecting with people across the country was hugely important.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we're still building those bridges.
So yeah, it's ongoing, isn't it? I liked what you said about having boots on the ground a couple minutes ago. I think it's really important. It's something we talk about, to travel in, to do a bunch of sales meetings, and then perhaps to travel back and not come back again for 4 or 5 weeks, and to, repeat that cycle is not going to be as effective as really immersing yourself in that market, if at all possible. Tell me, how long was it between when you identified Canada and started working on the market to come in here to when you had your first customer?
It was really quick, because I think there was a little bit of serendipity involved. I wouldn't say luck, because, you could be 10 years preparing for that lucky moment. So
That's absolutely right. Yeah.
You have to be in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
You have to be the right person and the right product, and, the right team. So it was very quick, because so I did some desktop research and with the team, but we also had which I would suggest people to do as well, is avail of any resources that the universities have. So for example, there's an executive MBA program from Trinity College, and we had an extraordinary team in the background, the exec MBA team, doing some research on market entry in Canada. And now a lot of the stuff we had found out ourselves, just being curious and doing the research ourselves, but they really pulled it together in a very professional way and validated our thinking about, where to incorporate, even down to, which legal firm might be good to use, and a SWOT analysis as well. And it was great to have that fresh pair of eyes to just challenge your thinking on it. So, and that was a free resource. Like, Trinity College are an amazing support to us. They do a scaling project with us every year, because it's really exciting for the students to get stuck into an early stage company that their efforts will be visible and tangible. So they saw that we were actually flying over with their presentation, and it was all very timely. But at the same time, as we had the research done, I heard about Melissa's story and Andrew passing away, and Melissa was very active on social media, and her lobbying was very visible. So I reached out to Melissa, and straight away she got back to me, and I said, right, I'm going to come and meet you next week. So we went and we had dinner, and it was an extraordinarily powerful meeting. It was very sad and emotional, and we felt that somehow we were both destined to be on that journey, because now Melissa works in patient safety as her full-time role. And at the same time, I had reached out to all the different provinces, to the different regulators, and start to build a relationship there. And it just so happened that one of them was going for, putting the tender together that we then went for, which meant then that the Pharmapod solution is now mandated across the pharmacies in Ontario, which is the largest province with 4,500 pharmacies. So that was the largest medication safety program of its kind in Canada. So to your question about how long it took, it was very short. We reached out to a regulator. It was the request for proposal came out in about 3 weeks. We responded to that, and we probably had about 3 months, including December with Christmas and everything, to put the whole training program together, to localize the solution, get it up and running, and across. Now we launched with 100 ambassador pharmacies first, but a huge amount of work, and you're talking kind of 4:30 in the morning job. That,
you have to do it. Sometimes you have to do it.
That's all it's about. It's just about working smart is a given, but working hard is what it's all about. That's just simple formula.
Really
but start to finish, I'd say 6 months.
That is fast.
Yeah.
Well done. Just on to the next question about COVID. It's obviously on everyone's minds. It's affected individuals and businesses alike. And so from your perspective, how has COVID affected you both personally and professionally?
Professionally, it's been a shocker for everyone, I think. So, people think that because you're working in healthcare, there must be a huge upside to your business. But, that's a double-edged sword, because, selling a new technology into a chaotic frontline isn't, the ideal scenario for us. It was just, the frontline was just thrown into chaos. However, we do have a solution. We always had a clinical services module on our system, because our system is a platform, and there was lots of pharmacy groups using it already for the flu vaccine, for example. So we've now tailored that and localized it for different countries to manage the COVID app, or the COVID vaccination. So it's an application that the public, the members of the public, can book their appointment with their local pharmacies or their local vaccinator, be it a nurse or prescriber, whatever the environment is. It's agnostic to that, and the healthcare professional can use it to manage their bookings and to pre-qualify patients. So we've put a lot of effort into developing that application out further. So that was a big change for us internally. It wasn't a pivot, but it was certainly, we had to invest more. We always saw the services side of it as a big opportunity for us, but that definitely accelerated. We wanted to contribute to the pandemic efforts as well. And we wanted to get our solution out there into as many hands as possible. So that was a big focus for us. And we did have to take on extra capacity because specifically the tech team were quite stretched on what they had to do. So that was a risk when you're really, you need to be looking at all costs and optimizing everything. And we did have to go through a restructure, like so many companies internationally, and that was painful. I think we've optimized the business throughout the pandemic, and I think we are coming out of it stronger. But so we got new product out the door, which is fantastic, and we have some new people on board, just amazing additions to the team. But our processes. But it was the challenge was for communication across the group, and in order to help with that, we actually didn't have a HR person before the pandemic. So, and Neve has come on board now, and she, the difference is night and day. To have somebody tasked with helping facilitate communication, or making sure that we're checking in with people that may not be as visible. You just have to over communicate. So we've had to, invest in that. And actually, she's been such a help. I would definitely suggest someone starting a business to have a HR person from the very start, people ops and culture, because she's really helped put a management framework in place, performance management, and putting some real rigor behind the recruitment process. And especially when you're hiring internationally, you can't maybe get to meet people in this environment. It's so important to have that rigor done. So that's been a huge help for us. And so big challenges, and also COVID threw a very nervousness into the investor community, we were in the middle of investment round in Ireland, for example, and it was just a high net worth investor round. And of course, everyone battened down the hatches. Nobody knew what was coming. All the high net worths had a portfolio of companies that they were trying to keep on the road, and people asking them for money left, right, and center. So new deals were rare. And so there was a good 6 months of that panic in the marketplace, very sensitive to anything that was said on the radio. And so that was difficult because, you know, you factored in your growth plan based on X amount of, you know, cash injection. So we've had to really take it week by week and month by month. And then personally, it's, you know, I'm very experienced with COVID now because most of the household came down with COVID. You know, we have some essential workers here at home. All the adults were down. So I'm the only one somehow at home that got away with being tested negative all the time. I don't know how I've done it. And then I have a 4-year-old daughter in the mix of that. So
How is she doing?
she's loving it because everyone is at home. You know, she's loving it. And she's obviously not going to her little creche every day. So she's loving the fact that she can, you know, play around the garden or watch TV or do whatever it is. I mean, she's get sick of that. She's going to go back next week now. So we're over the worst of it. But that was really disruptive, to say the least. And you know, one of the patients was my 76-year-old dad. So we were really concerned about him. So huge personal pressure, as well as all the pressures with work. But, you know, you just, I don't know, you find it somewhere, you dig deep every day.
Mm-hmm. We're hearing it every day, aren't we? How people are having to change how they work. They're juggling family. They're trying to find a corner to do a bit of calls or emails, and, you know, trying to educate their children who aren't able to go back to school, and, you know, trying to manage so many different things.
Yeah, it is tough on people, definitely. There's an extra layer of stress, but, you know, I think as an entrepreneur or so, you know, a founder, you're used to that level of stress. You know, you are operating on a kind of high adrenaline most of the time. You're used to coping with risk, and so really this is our environment, you know, to thrive in. But who knows? I might totally crash at the end of it when we're out the other side. Yeah, but, you know, you find the energy from somewhere and you keep going.
Well, on that note, because like so many, you know, juggling family and work, and, you know, I find, you know, as an entrepreneur, you're right, we're used to that stress. We're used to you could almost say we're accustomed to uncertainty. But we have teams that need to be reassured, and you know, that is part of our day to day. And so as an individual, what are some of the things you're doing to personally try and stay as your best self? So, you know, health wise or exercise, etc.
Sure. No, it's a good question. No, you're absolutely right. Especially when you work in technology, it's so hard, it's so easy in the morning just to get up and default to opening the laptop and answering emails. So I have consciously since the holidays, since Christmas, you know, I just go out for a walk every single day. It sets me up for the day, and I encourage all the team to do the same. It really does improve your performance, your mindset, and it gets you out. You know, you're looking at the same four walls. It certainly is a huge coping mechanism, and I consciously factor that in every day now, whereas I wouldn't have had before. So it's crucial. Also, what I'm doing is I've gone back to a couple of my networks that I found hugely valuable to me in the past, such as the Going for Growth network, and that's an accelerator program for female founders. There's different stages of it. There's a starting strong stage, and then I'm in the continuing momentum, where there's some people have a business for 30 years, and it's because, you know, being a founder can be a lonely place, really. And sometimes so this brings a community of female founders together. There's 8 of us on our round table. We set goals together. We check in with each other every couple of months, and we hold each other to account for those goals. And that's exciting because you're connecting with people. There's a solidarity there, so the power of network is
And
important to
being an
harness.
entrepreneur can be quite, and being an entrepreneur can be quite isolating too. So it allows you to reduce some of that isolation that you're inevitably feel without those kinds of connections.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So they're the things that I really have felt give you energy. It's almost like talking to people in the same situation. It's like a recharge. They're just like a battery pack, and Paula Fitzsimons, the lady that runs that, is just a phenomenal energy and connector. So it's just been a great experience.
So you've been recognized for some significant accomplishments, and you've been awarded Businesswoman of the Year in Ireland. You were a finalist in EY's Entrepreneur of the Year in 2020, and you're also an ambassador for Women in STEM. Being that this is St. Brigid's Day, I'm wondering if you could specifically provide us with some advice for women in business whether they're looking for market expansion or if they're looking to build a business or their business.
Well, definitely I would join one of those networks where, you're surrounded by like-minded people, because I think that is, that you can't underestimate the power of that. And the more founders I surround myself with, it just becomes the norm. When I work in technology, so if the female founders were few and far between when I started out, and that wasn't so long ago. So there weren't those networks, and now there are, and the difference is amazing. I would have felt quite alone and didn't have, I would have even in some circles been made to feel odd, because why are you working so hard? And people that would have thought that my work-life balance was out of kilter. But I like to think of it as a work-life blend, and it's, happiness is what everyone strives for. Your work very much is your life when you're doing what you're passionate about. So it's very important to surround yourself with people that are as ambitious or more ambitious, or people that you can help give back to when they're at the early stage of their journey, because that really energizes you as well. So I think that's an important thing, just to stay away from people that are, maybe have more negative or lack of understanding to the journey. So and I think follow your passion, because if you're starting a business, it's definitely not about the money. It's lovely to have that financial independence when it does work out, but it has to be something that you're passionate about, because it's going to be a hard slog. It's going to be years and years of burning the midnight oil. And so if it's not something that you would do even without getting paid, if you're not passionate about it, I think that would be a really hard thing to do for me. Knowing that we add value to patients and to our customers really helps get you there. There's a purpose beyond profit to what we do, and that's a really nice thing to be involved in. So so I think surround yourself with and get out to talk to as many government agencies as you can in terms of grants that are available, because there are a lot, especially throughout times like this. There's an awful lot of money and resource being put into businesses to get them off the ground. So and speak to a lot of people that have gone through it before. So in your particular sector, if it's a food startup or something, make sure you speak to all the founders in that space, because they'll have very sector specific knowledge to impart. And the same with market entry. If you're going to launch in the US, speak to as many companies as you can about, where to set up, what's their experience been, because every single one of those conversations, you'll come away with at least 2 or 3 golden pieces of wisdom to help you avoid, mistakes of others. And then when you pay it forward to others, and that's a lovely thing. And I think it's important to do that, even if you're only a couple of years in. you wouldn't, you don't understand how much you have to impart or how much you've actually learned on that journey to even, people that are earlier along. So that's an important thing to do, I think. But yeah, just to do something you're passionate about and not be afraid, just jump in, do it. And yeah, but you do have to be resilient, I'll say that.
Pick yourself up, do it again, pick yourself up, do it again. Yeah, that's the way it is.
That's it,
So,
daily.
Every day, sometimes every hour, depending on how the day's going. So in closing, what would you say has been key to your success, and what are some of the key lessons that you'd like to share?
I think, just believe in yourself. That is the key thing. I think there's an element of that in many founders anyway, that they don't really, they're not really mindful about what other people think. They're very, internally driven. And I think that's a really good thing, because, you don't be afraid of failure either. You just get up and try it, because, the only failure to me is the not trying. So I think that is literally it. It could be a cliche at this stage, but it's really important just to try things and learn, because there aren't many mistakes unless you keep making them. Every setback is an opportunity to learn and grow. That's what excites me about this journey. It's the growth. It's even when I'm going through a really, really challenging time, I remind myself of how much I'm learning, and it might be totally traumatic, but at the same time, one part of my brain is going, isn't that, I've never been through this before. Isn't that interesting? Now I'll have some advice to give to others coming through that. So I just think, yeah, and to network as much as possible. There's loads of resources there. There's loads of supports. Don't be on your own at all, because there's so many people that are going through the same thing and have been through the same thing. And like, I'm part of the Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year alumni, and that's amazing. We have a WhatsApp group. You can ask any question to that group and somebody will know somebody with the answer.
That's great.
Try to find those, that, because it's invaluable.
Yeah.
No man is an island, no woman is an island, and just have the capacity to grow and learn and always be coachable. And that's really important from an investor perspective. They want to know that, or a board member perspective, they want to know that the founder they're dealing with is coachable and willing to learn and can absorb the valuable information and act on it if they feel that's appropriate. So yeah.
Such wise words. Such wise words. It's been so lovely speaking with you today. Your story is really quite incredible, and your success is inspiring. Thank you. We really appreciate you taking the time to share your valuable insights and that great advice, which I too will take on. Thank you. Wonderful reminders and hints on a path forward. So on that note, I am happy to bring on Kathy Murphy. She's the Executive Director for the Ireland-Canada Chamber of Commerce in Toronto. And once again, Leonora, thank you so very much for your time today.
Keep safe.
What a wonderful, inspiring presentation, Lorraine and Leonora. That was just a terrific interview. We really are most grateful to Leonora for sharing her story with us, and to Lorraine for taking the time to share in that conversation. And we very much hope that you'll join us in the months ahead as we continue to offer you events like this. And at this time, I'm going to invite you all to turn on your cameras. I see folks coming on, standing by. And I would now like to wish you all, on behalf of the Irish Chambers in Canada, a very happy and safe St. Brigid's Day. We'll see you again in the spring. Thank you and goodbye.